Hey, what's up YouTube? Goratha here. So I thought I'd make a quick update to the Frostbolt Icenova build before the league start, talk about some of the questions you guys asked, and talk about some of the concerns, stuff like that, just go through some stuff. So I added an Evasion ES gear set, and I would actually recommend, after thinking about it more, just switching to an Evasion ES chest probably, and craft one in PoB real quick. Basically, the idea is early on, you would just want to have easier coloring, so just like throw on like whatever chest you can get. Just like life mana is fine early on. Later on, you probably don't even want mana on your chests, but early on, this is probably fine to do. The only issue you have with going Evasion ES is you need more dexterity. There's a couple ways to deal with this. Obviously, you can just click dexterity nodes early on, which is probably what I'll do. You could also corrupt Viridian Jewels to get a careful planning. Careful planning would be really good at the witch spots, like 2 witch spots, like the very start, and where the healthy mind is. Either one of these gives you about 100 dex. So if you get that early on, you'll be perfect. This will also give you like some early suppression too. It's not to be underestimated on the suppression. You get quite a bit actually from Mage Bane. This is about 7% suppression, which is it's pretty nice honestly. Like it's pretty good. You might even use it throughout the game. So why evasion? Other than the coloring thing, which a lot of people had an issue with, coloring like the armor evasion chest, you can still do that by the way. You would just have to use Richi's, not the white socket, but like the more likely of rare colors thing they're adding. And there's Omen of Blanching in the game still. It's going to come from Ritual. Those are two main ways, and then obviously like the socket trick. The super endgame, you can still go armor if you want. There's a couple advantages and disadvantages to armor. I think evasion's better for mapping in general because you're not really getting hit that much. And it makes it so you don't get really stunned that much either. It's kind of a natural defense against stuns because you don't really get hit, so you don't get stunned type of thing. It's pretty nice. There's definitely some advantages to going evasion. I'm not quite sure what I'll do super endgame yet. I'll kind of play around with it and keep you guys updated. Glorious Vanity. I didn't really talk about this before, but I thought I should mention it in the video here. So Glorious Vanity gives you some damage taken on your life or ES. This is actually a really big upside. When damage goes through your ES and hits your life, it's also hitting your mana pool, and you're hitting all three of your HP sources, right? You're hitting your mana, your ES, and your life at the same time. This is really, really good actually because you have dual leech. You're leeching life and you're leeching ES. So you're recovering those at the same time. If you're just getting hit on your ES, you're not using the life recovery, right? So it's more efficient to have leech and Glorious Sanity than it is without it. It's not required. It's just a little better against, or a lot better against multiple hits. It's pretty nice option. This also gives you more ES as well. So like super endgame, you can definitely look to get a Glorious Vanity. Could be a very nice option, like super endgame. Anoints and the weapons. So the Anoints are pretty interesting. Mind Trigger is pretty good for mapping, I think. It's a very cheap Anoint. I'd probably either early on go Mind Drinker or Instinct. Like Instinct's pretty good as well, but you kind of path over here super early anyways. Either Anoint this or Mind Drinker, I think. One of those three, probably early on. Later on, you obviously have like Disciple of Unyielding, Disciple of the Slaughter. There's a lot of options like super endgame. But early on, those are the three I would go for. They're very cheap and they're very efficient. For the weapons, you might notice we have a focus setup and 2 one-handers. So one thing that's pretty cool, if you do go evasion, you have more suppression on here, just naturally, and you're able to get the suppression mastery. If you have that plus the anoint, you could technically run double one-hander and leap slam. You'd want like really fast weapons. Luckily, the oscillating scepters are already quite fast. You want oscillating and Kurui scepter. You like leap slam around. This is a lot more damage actually if you can make it work. The focus setup is a lot of damage, and obviously using another one-hander is a lot of damage as well. So definitely something to consider. I would prefer this, I think, over the Pledge of Hands. Pledge of Hands is something people in the comments were talking about. This is also pretty good. We compare the damage here though. 34 million versus Pledge would be... So the way Pledge works is you get actually double the overlaps. So it'd be 27 million. The main difference is you actually get no movement skill as Pledge. You have to use Lightning Warp, which we don't really have the gem slots for. So Pledge just doesn't really work that well in this build, I think. It's definitely doable. You could probably fit it in if you like tried, but I would rather use double one-hander personally. That's my thoughts on Pledge. Maybe try it out early on to see if you like it. Otherwise, like double one-hander might be the play, like super endgame. Atlas mechanics. Atlas and the mechanics you should look out for. So what am I looking for in the Atlas? I'm going to post my Atlas tree, like League Star Atlas tree, in the description below. But basically, what I'm looking for, super early on at least, is the June missions, 100% June missions, Expedition, and just map chance / character missions. I'm not quite sure if the lead mechanic will be good yet or not yet, but I would recommend trying these nodes out probably. The lead mechanic is in the corners basically. So top right, top left, there's more lead mechanic nodes. Bottom left, and bottom right. These are where the lead mechanic nodes are. The padding I have is pretty efficient for lead mechanic nodes because you're right next to all of them, and you can take the Eldritch Gateway if you wanted the other ones. It's pretty nice. I think this padding is really good. June missions early on for crafts, like Syndicate crafts, very nice early on mana gear. Like you get a lot of mana stuff from Syndicate. Syndicate drops pretty good gear, honestly, early on. And you need the crafts later on anyways. Then Expedition for Rog. Rog is always really good. And then missions. Keurig missions help your Atlas progression out a lot. And then Shaping the Mountains and Shaping the World. This is for your map drops progression. Now, I actually was considering getting Pack with Energy and getting a 100% chance to have Nico missions on my maps. This would be really good, I think, later on, and early on maybe even. And you'd grab mining byproducts to get some extra Azurite. This would let you buy Resonators without actually delving. So I would be doing it without delving. But you could also delve too, why not? And then later on, I'm not sure exactly what mechanic I'll farm. This probably will be pretty good at doing Legion, though. People were saying in the comments that it might not be good at Legion, but you'll get Val Icenova probably, and Icenova in general is pretty good, so I don't see why not. You could definitely go for it. But yeah, Expedition and Harvest will be really good for this build, especially. So keep an eye out on that if you want to. And probably Breaches. Honestly, I think this is an all-rounder build. You could probably do whatever lead mechanic you want. Just do whatever you enjoy. I think it'll probably work out. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I did want to quickly mention that the Act 10 gear. We had a lot of comments about the all-res and the Act 10 gear being a little too unrealistic. I honestly think the Act 10 gear is completely realistic. I don't know. It doesn't have res crafted on it, but it's just kind of assumed you have some amount of res. I have crafted mana here. This is just the ideal, right? Like, I think ideally early on you have like Evasion ES gear and you have like mana just naturally on the item and you craft like a res. It's really not that bad to get capped res with like a couple pieces of mana. You don't need to have all mana gear when you enter maps. It's not really expected. Just go for mana on all your pieces of gear. It's mostly just a guideline. Like, you want mana, res, and life. That's really all you care about in the campaign. Obviously, eventually, you're looking to get suppression. I kind of wanted to show that you are looking for suppression early on. It's just not something that you really get until you're in maps normally. But yeah, getting as much suppression early on is good. That's why in the Act 10 tree, we're taking the Instinct node. Just try to get suppression when you can, and yeah, you'll be good to go. Mage Bane and Reflexes will carry early on, the Evasion Mastery. Just try to get as much as you can. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You're not expected to get cap suppression until probably even like red maps, honestly. As always, if you want to follow along, I'll post my Twitch in the description below. I'll be league starting this myself. And I'm also going to link my filter and my atlas in the description.